Good evening. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here to talk about what I was up to last summer. Let me just secure this thing here. Yeah, so as Tim said, I just graduated from the Harvard Graduate School of Design with a Master in Urban Planning, and previously I worked for about 5 years in kind of pedestrian planning and sustainable travel planning in London. So that's where my background is coming from when I'm doing this. So I worked for Union Square Main Streets last summer as a fellow, but I actually worked on 2 projects. One of them was indeed the Sanborn Court project, but I also wanted to talk to you about the project that I did for Union Square Station, looking at connecting the station to Union Square Plaza as the heart of Union Square as a whole. And I think this is a really important piece of the whole area, is looking at not just these small scale spaces like Sanborn Court, but also the larger scale connections. Sanborn Court, as you know, is this small courtyard off of the plaza of Union Square, and home to a number of food-related businesses primarily. I know we have recent success in Journeyman and Back Bar, as well as Relish, which should open last year, I believe. But this area faces some pretty competing demands for such a small space, including waste storage for all the restaurants that are there, servicing and deliveries for these restaurants, as well as walking routes going up through to the neighborhoods to the north of the space, as well as access to the restaurants and parking for the restaurants. I looked at trying to come up with a somewhat cohesive strategy for hard and soft measures to address all of these challenges, and was able to speak with businesses and landowners about these issues, and they helped to shape both the identification of issues and the identification of solutions that we came up with. Obviously, I know Shu mentioned to me just this evening that Sanborn Court is a very popular space. People in this area really love it, and it does have some really wonderful spaces within it. A lot of these are very much based on the work that the local businesses have done in front of their own businesses. But there are a lot of opportunities as well, primarily in the shared spaces between these, the management of waste in particular. You can see a couple of these here. Also stormwater management. Alleys are often very well known as spaces of kind of the back space where all of the dirty work gets done, but they also have a great potential in providing small scale spaces for a lot of different activities. So especially coming off of the main plaza, this presents an opportunity for kind of smaller patios for eating and dining, or just even sitting and shopping, for example. So I looked at a couple different examples. There are a lot of examples across the world, really, of cities looking at rethinking what they're doing with alleys, and kind of reconceptualizing these as spaces for gathering, for arts. In particular, Seattle has had some recent projects to kind of bring life and commerce back into these spaces. So, and even in Cambridge as well, I looked at Winthrop Street and Harvard Square, which uses a couple different solutions to address the differences in uses and in particular the use of differentiated pavement, different colored paving stones to really suggest the differences in uses between the areas where traffic moves through and servicing is done, as well as those spaces where kind of you have this patio seating over at Grendel's. Hopefully you can see that. So I came up with a couple ideas that were really just suggestions to the landowners and business owners to kind of get them thinking about the types of things that could happen in this space. One of these is, of course, patio seating. There are a lot of small scale cafe seating spaces all over the place. These are 2 examples. And by really just kind of trying to activate these edges, you allow for this just quite small space in front of the businesses to become a little bit more than it is today. Lighting is just another like just having these kind of coordinated efforts of lighting, for example, can have it kind of pop a bit from the street instead of what it is, which is one big street light and then several kind of small scale lights in front of the businesses. Providing a sort of gateway can help, if this is in the interest of the businesses, to really attract attention to the space. I know that some of the businesses might not be interested in that, and they would actually prefer to have something that's a little bit lower key than this. Finally, just simple strategies of container gardens and potted plants can help improve in front of the spaces, but also landscaping can help with stormwater management and snow storage, which is also an issue for this area. Finally, waste storage, which was one of the largest issues for Sanborn Court, can be fairly easily addressed with some shared interventions, such as making sure that the enclosures, that the waste spaces have cement bases underneath to prevent rats getting in, which are some of the issues that they're having there. And including simple fences and enclosures can help make this space a little bit more pleasant to be in. So this is, I mean, I'll just say I'm not a designer, but I'm an urban planner, so these were some of the suggestions that I was able to give to the landowners and business owners there, and hopefully they'll take these up and contribute to making this a more cohesive and coherent place and really to benefit those businesses that are there. Moving on really quickly, I wanted to just talk about the other project that I worked on, which was for integrating Union Square Station with the rest of Union Square, and particularly the heart of Union Square in the plaza. As you know, Union Square as a spur on the Green Line is a very exciting moment, but it's something that is not going to happen automatically. This is something that we need to work for and make sure that the area is really integrated with legible streetscapes and connected spaces. In particular, the strategy that I developed included two main cohesive centers, that being at the station, which is actually proposed to be just over here on Prospect Street, as you probably know, and also at the plaza, and these would be connected with 3 legible routes, as I call them. Okay. The plaza, as you know, would just be kind of, this would be enhancing the space that exists already. For the station, I proposed a hub be placed here. Instead of just a station, it's something a bit more coordinated go here. So you may have seen this rendering of the front of the station, which will be the station entrance just up here on Prospect Street on the actual bridge. The proposal at present, or at least as of June last year, June 2013, was essentially just for the station and accessible pickup drop-off. Now, when we think about all the other proposed changes that are coming into this area, or that are planned for this area, this is very likely going to include quite a bit more traffic, both through public transit, but as well as through cars and just kind of foot traffic as well. So I took this opportunity to think about how we can coordinate all of the transit into a more cohesive, rationalized station. If you even were to pull together the bus stops within a 5-minute walk of the proposed station area right here, you're pulling together over 10 bus stops. It's about 12 to 15 bus stops. And what this can do is to help to rationalize the bus routes, potentially decreasing traffic and congestion times, as well as creating something like what we have at Kenmore Station, which is a centralized bus shelter that serves 5 different bus routes, as this would be. There are 5 bus routes that run through Union Square. Also providing cover for in inclement weather, of which there is a lot in this area, as well as a kind of just safe and comfortable and accessible waiting areas for the buses. I proposed 3 different options for how this could be placed in and around that area, depending on land ownership, et cetera. But moving on to the second center, which is possibly of the most interest to this group at Union Square Plaza. At present, the plaza itself is well loved and has a lot of very fine urban design features and street furniture in particular, but it's also a pretty cluttered space. It's not very cohesive. It's a little bit difficult to find your way around. And primarily when we look at how the space is actually used, a lot of it is actually parking. And the remaining space is kind of divided up through small clusters of street furniture, so that what we get in terms of open space for this area, which is so heavily used for things like the farmers market and the Fluff Festival and a number of other potential festivals, is these 2 kind of very small triangles of open space. So I came up with just a really quick proposal just to kind of think about how you could reorganize this space by using single surface paving, repaving the entire space to create one surface, rationalizing some of the restaurant seating to push it back from the building frontages, and actually also removing the cobblestone paving in front of the old firehouse to provide a different sort of space there. A couple examples that I was drawing on, shared spaces in, this is in London, but there are a lot of examples of this all over the place. This could be a good solution for a space like the plaza so that parking can be provided, but also when parking is not at full capacity, the spaces could be used for other activities, or even during the farmers market, parking could be removed from the area or even kind of pushed off to the side a little bit, just through kind of movement of street furniture rather than through actual physical pieces which are in there, like curbs and streets. In Central Square, cafe and restaurant seating is actually pushed back from the street, from the frontages to provide clear walkways to the shop frontages, and as well as kind of clear visual lines as well. And finally, just some kind of very bold public art can be a good way to make a legible space, as well as a kind of place that people want to stick around. The legible routes then are these spaces that would then connect these two cohesive centers. I'm just going to jump through these really quickly, but essentially creating better spaces that people want to be in, making it more comfortable for them to walk there, tightening up the crossings, making it safer. And for Washington Street in particular, recognizing that Washington Street Station is actually incredibly close to here, and because of the difference in services that will be provided there, so that the trains from Washington Street Station will continue on to Medford, there is a potential that people would be people would be kind of interchanging between Washington Street and Union Square Station. So this is then a route that really needs to be addressed. And finally, Prospect Street. And just a note to say, I think in previous times, the proposals for Prospect Street have suggested widening the bridge. I know this has not been not always entirely possible, especially for financial reasons. But this is just a proposal for how it could actually fit within the existing, how a revised streetscape could fit within the existing space of the bridge. Okay. I'll end there, but thank you very much again. And these proposals were really something for Union Square Main Streets and for the businesses that survive in this area, that live in this area. Sorry for that term. But it's really, Union Square is at this unique junction of accessibility, and kind of being a through route, as well as having nice spaces, and it is a destination in and of itself, and maintaining that balance is very, very important. And I think these are things that we need to think about as the station comes in and as all of these new changes come forward. Thank you.